A powerful billionaire executive secretly followed his longtime housekeeper and her children after work. What he witnessed shattered everything he thought he knew. Marcus Hale stood motionless behind the glass wall of his home office, watching the security feed as Elena Cruz slipped 2 boxes of pasta, a bag of rice, and a bottle of children's cough syrup into her faded canvas tote. The house's automated inventory system had flagged small inconsistencies again, always minor, always at the same hour, always connected to her access code. This was the 5th alert in less than 3 weeks. At 44, Marcus had built a biotech logistics company valued at just over $1.9 billion. He was known for precision, discipline, and an almost obsessive attention to detail. Nothing in his world moved without data. Every expense was tracked, every department audited. And now the woman who had cleaned his home for 9 years, the woman who knew his routines better than his own assistants, was taking things without permission. Elena was 56. She had 2 children and 1 granddaughter Marcus had never met and never asked about. She arrived every morning at 6:45 a.m., left every afternoon at 4:15 p.m., and for nearly a decade had kept his 14-bedroom estate immaculate while remaining virtually invisible. Except now, she was very visible, at least to the system. Marcus watched as she folded towels with her usual meticulous care, her movements calm, almost ceremonial. The missing items weren't expensive. He wouldn't have noticed if entire shelves vanished. What disturbed him was the quiet breach of trust, the idea that someone so close to his private life could deceive him. When Elena shut off the lights and exited through the staff door, Marcus reached for his keys, not for the chauffeured sedan, not for the electric SUV he used for press appearances, but for an old silver Ford Focus he kept hidden in the back garage. 25 minutes later, he was trailing her car at a distance as she drove through neighborhoods that slowly shed streetlights and storefronts. He'd never been here before, not out of fear, but because his life had never intersected with places like this. His office tower sat downtown. His home sat behind gates. Everything else existed only as blurred scenery through tinted windows. Elena parked in front of a crumbling apartment complex that looked frozen in the late 1980s. Paint peeled from the railings. One stairwell light flickered. Marcus parked down the block and waited. 10 minutes later, he approached the building. The intercom was broken. The hallway smelled of oil and disinfectant. Through a second-floor window, he saw her inside a cramped apartment, setting paper plates on a folding table. 2 children sat quietly, one boy around 11, and a younger girl clutching a pencil like it was something precious. That was the moment Marcus understood. She wasn't stealing for herself. She was feeding her children with food taken from a pantry that was never empty. The boy stared at the cans as if they were gifts, not dinner treasure. Marcus returned to his empty house that night with a heaviness he couldn't shake. He told himself he needed answers. For years, Elena had access to everything: security codes, routines, information worth millions. If she was taking food, what else didn't he know? But somewhere beneath the suspicion, something else stirred, something uncomfortable. The next morning, Marcus arrived at the office 2 hours early. He hadn't slept. He pulled up Elena Cruz's employee file. 9 years, no warnings, no complaints, perfect reviews. Monthly pay, $2,600. He typed her address into Street View. In daylight, the building looked worse: rusted railings, patched windows, cracked concrete. A quick rental estimate made him choke on his coffee. A 2-bedroom apartment, $1,350 a month. After rent, Elena had just over $1,200 for food, transport, medicine, clothes, for 3 people. Less than $40 a day. Marcus shut his laptop hard. That afternoon, he did something he'd never done before. He went home early and waited. Elena arrived on schedule, carrying her tote and a child's backpack. Through the internal cameras, Marcus watched her go to a guest room that hadn't been used in years. She laid out school notebooks, pencils, and a ruler on the bed. His house wasn't just her workplace. It was her children's study room. For nearly a decade, 3 lives had existed inside his walls, and he'd never seen them. He pressed the intercom. "Elena, could you come to my office, please?" 5 minutes later, she stood in the doorway, cautious but composed. "Is something wrong, Mr. Hale?" "Please," he said gently, "sit down." She hesitated. In 9 years, she never had. "Your children study here," he said quietly. Her breath caught. "They're very quiet," she said quickly. "They don't touch anything. There's no space at home. It's loud." "And the food?" Her face drained of color. "I can repay it," she whispered. "You can deduct it." "I'm not asking for repayment," Marcus said. "I'm asking why you never asked for help." She gave a small, bitter smile. "People like you don't expect people like me to ask." The words hit him harder than anger ever could. That conversation changed everything. Within days, Marcus ordered a full internal review. His HR director, Nina Calder, returned with data that made him sick. Most support staff lived paycheck to paycheck. Several worked sick. Some slept in cars. Nina knew, everyone knew. Except him. On Saturday, Marcus accepted Elena's invitation to dinner. Her apartment was clean but worn. Her son, Matteo, talked excitedly about becoming an architect so he could build homes that don't break. Her daughter, Lucia, loved drawing but used scrap paper. There was no computer. Internet came and went. Marcus felt something unfamiliar. Not pity. Anger. On Monday afternoon, Marcus gathered all 52 support staff into the main conference room. He apologized. He showed numbers. And then he changed everything. Salaries doubled, effective immediately. Full family health insurance. On-site childcare. An education fund with no cap. Elena was promoted to lead a new employee welfare division. "This isn't charity," Marcus said. "It's correction." When the meeting ended, there were tears, laughter, stunned silence. That night, Marcus called Matteo. "You said you want to build houses," Marcus said. "Yes, sir." "Good, because we're going to build them together, and they won't fall." 6 months later, Hale Biologics became a national case study. Marcus appeared on magazine covers, but the photo he treasured most sat on his desk, Matteo at a science fair, holding a model home built to last. Elena led a team helping other companies do the same. Marcus learned the truth too late, but not too late to change. Success, he realized, isn't built on invisibility. It's built on seeing and choosing not to look away. Comment below what part hit you the hardest, because your voice matters too. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss stories that remind us what humanity still looks like.